The 2014 D. Lincoln 1-cent penny might look like just another small copper-colored coin that most of us pass around without a second thought. But for those who truly pay attention, it represents one of the most fascinating chapters in modern coin collecting. The Denver Mint struck billions of these coins, and while most of them are common, a handful emerged with remarkable minting errors that turned them from pocket change into prized treasures. Some of these error coins have fetched stunning prices at auctions, sometimes soaring into the tens of thousands, making them a dream discovery for collectors and everyday Americans alike. To understand the true significance of the 2014 D penny, we need to step back and look at the coin's place in history. The Lincoln Cent is one of the longest-running and most beloved coin series in the United States. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin originally featured the iconic portrait of Lincoln on the obverse and two wheat stalks on the reverse. Over time, the design evolved. In 1959, the reverse changed to the Lincoln Memorial, and then again in 2010, when a Union Shield design was introduced. The 2014 D penny carries this Union Shield design, symbolizing Lincoln's role in preserving the nation during the Civil War and uniting the states under one banner. The D mint mark below the date tells us it was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the primary facilities responsible for producing billions of circulating coins each year. By 2014, minting technology was highly advanced, making error coins increasingly rare, but not impossible. In fact, because of the massive scale of production, even the smallest mechanical misalignment or contamination could result in extraordinary minting mistakes that collectors now eagerly seek. One of the most well-known types of 2014 D penny errors involves the double die obverse, or DDO. In this type of error, the die that strikes the design onto the blank coin is improperly aligned during the hubbing process, causing elements of the design, such as the date, mint mark, or inscriptions like Liberty and In God We Trust, to appear doubled. While many examples of machine doubling are minor, true double die errors are bold and noticeable even without magnification. Some collectors have reported strong doubling on the letters of Liberty on the 2014 D penny, giving the coin a distinct, almost shadowed appearance. When found in uncirculated condition, such coins have sold for over $800 at smaller auctions, and examples with more dramatic doubling have even crossed the $2,000 mark in private sales. Another notable error on the 2014 D penny is the off-center strike. This occurs when the blank planchet is not perfectly seated between the upper and lower dies during striking, causing part of the design to land off the coin surface. Depending on how far off the design is shifted, this can leave a blank crescent-shaped area on the edge of the coin. Minor off-center strikes may only be worth a few dollars, but the more dramatic ones, especially those showing at least 40% of the design missing while the date remains visible, can bring significant premiums. A 2014 D penny struck about 60% offset or sold for $550 at a regional coin show, and collectors note that such errors are becoming harder to find in modern issues due to improved mint quality controls. Then there are broad strike errors, which happen when a coin is struck without the collar die properly engaging. This allows the metal to spread outwards, making the coin appear wider and flatter than normal, without a defined rim. The result can look almost melted at the edges, but it's completely natural and happens inside the minting chamber. Broad-struck 2014 D pennies have appeared on online marketplaces like eBay and Heritage Auctions, with prices typically ranging between $100 and $300, depending on how severe the spread is and how clearly the design remains visible. Some of the most intriguing and valuable 2014 D errors are the struck-through varieties. These occur when foreign material, such as grease, thread, or bits of metal, accidentally gets in the way during the striking process, leaving behind unusual impressions or causing parts of the design to appear weak or missing. For example, a struck-through grease error might make In God We Trust or E Pluribus Unum look faint, as if they were partially erased. One particularly dramatic 2014 D penny struck through a piece of wire that left a deep indentation across Lincoln's face, sold for $1,200 in 2021 after being authenticated by PeaceGS. Another captivating category is the wrong planchet error. This happens when a coin is accidentally struck on a blank mint for a different denomination. A few 2014 D pennies have been discovered struck on planchets intended for dimes or foreign coins, making them lighter and smaller than normal. Because this error is so visually obvious and rare, it attracts strong collector demand. A 2014 D penny struck on a dime planchet, showing both the Lincoln obverse and a partial reverse design missing the rim, brought $3,500 at a heritage auction sale. Die cracks and cuds also make appearances among the 2014 D series. A cut occurs when part of the die breaks off, causing a raised blob of metal on the coin surface where that section of the die should have impressed detail. On Lincoln cents, cuds are often found near the rim or the letters of United States of America. Some 2014 D examples show prominent die breaks running across the shield or around the date. These can vary in value from $50 for small cracks to over $400 for large, eye-catching cuds that distort part of the design. Even coins with subtle misalignments can be valuable. Die rotation errors, for instance, happen when the obverse and reverse designs don't line up correctly. When you flip a normal coin from top to bottom, the two sides should appear perfectly aligned. But some 2014 D pennies show rotation of 15 to 90 degrees, creating a strange effect where Lincoln's portrait seems tilted in relation to the shield. Collectors find this both unusual and fascinating, and depending on the degree of rotation, such coins can bring $100 to $250. Another modern error that appears on these pennies is plating blistering or bubbling, especially since Lincoln cents since 1982 have been made with a zinc core coated in a thin layer of copper. If the copper plating doesn't adhere properly or traps air during the minting process, small raised bubbles can appear on the surface. While minor examples are common, severe or oddly shaped blistering, especially if it distorts Lincoln's face or the shield design, can intrigue collectors and sell for $20 to $75 in raw condition. The most spectacular examples, however, are those combining multiple errors. A 2014 D penny that was both off-center and struck through grease, with a visible partial cud near the date, was discovered by a collector in Colorado and sold for $2,800 after being authenticated. These multiple error coins are especially prized because they are even rarer and tell an even more unique story about how unpredictable the minting process can be. What makes all this even more incredible is that the 2014 D penny is a coin you can still find in circulation today. Millions of Americans have handled one of these coins, tossing them into vending machines, tip jars, or drawers without realizing that a small percentage of them carry mistakes worth thousands. The idea that a penny from your pocket could sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars is what fuels the excitement of coin hunting, team major auctions, and grading services. Error 2014. D Lincoln cents continue to make waves. PCGS and NGC have certified numerous examples in mint state condition with errors like double strikes, wrong planchets, and struck through debris. Prices have steadily climbed over the years, especially for coins that combine strong visual appeal with rare error types. Some of the best auction prices on record include a double-struck example graded MS65RD that sold for $4,200 and an off-center strike with full date visible that brought $1,000. Part of the reason these coins attract such attention is the modern context of their production. With today's automated systems and quality checks, errors are far less frequent than in earlier decades, making every confirmed mistake that much more special. Collectors often say that finding a modern error coin is like winning a small lottery. You need luck, a sharp eye, and a bit of patience. Every 2014 D penny with an error tells its own story. It's a glimpse into the minting process, a moment where machinery slipped or materials misbehaved. Yet those tiny flaws, invisible to most, become prized pieces of history to those who notice. That's what makes coin collecting so fascinating. It's a hobby that rewards curiosity and attention to detail. The next time you receive a handful of change, take a closer look. Don't overlook that ordinary 2014 D penny. Tilt it under the light. Study the date, the inscriptions, and Lincoln's face. Do the letters look doubled? Is part of the design missing or shifted? Are there strange raised areas or missing details? If something seems unusual, you might just be holding more than a penny. You might be holding a small piece of minting history. Collectors across the country are constantly searching for these hidden gems, scanning through rolls of pennies from banks and coin machines, hoping to catch that one in a million find. The thrill of discovery keeps the passion alive, and every once in a while, someone does find that rare piece worth far more than face value. The 2014 D Lincoln cent stands as a reminder that even in an era of technological precision, perfection is elusive. Sometimes a flaw can turn the most ordinary object into something extraordinary. The 1982 D. Kennedy half-dollar coin hold a fascinating place in U.S. coinage history. Struck at the Denver Mint, this coin might look like an ordinary 50-cent piece to most people, but to coin collectors and history enthusiasts, it represents an era of transition, legacy, and unexpected value. The Kennedy half-dollar series has long carried emotional weight, having been introduced in 1964 to honor President John F. Kennedy after his tragic assassination. The 1982 D issue, however, stands out for several reasons. From its composition and design to its notable errors that have captured the attention of collectors across the country. To understand the 1982 D. Kennedy half-dollar, we first have to revisit the story of the coin's origin. When the series debuted in 1964, the United States was still mourning the loss of President Kennedy. The nation's grief turned into a demand for a coin bearing his image, leading the U.S. Mint to replace the Franklin half-dollar design with Kennedy's profile. Sculpted by Gilroy Roberts, the obverse of the coin displays a bold, lifelike portrait of President Kennedy facing left, with the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" encircling it. On the reverse, designed by Frank Gasparro, appears the presidential seal, a heraldic eagle holding arrows and an olive branch beneath a ring of 50 stars, symbolizing strength and peace. In 1982, something unusual happened in the world of U.S. coins. The Mint decided not to release uncirculated Kennedy half-dollars for collectors, as they normally did. This makes the 1982 D half-dollar unique because all coins struck that year were intended for circulation only. No official Mint sets included them, and that decision made high-grade examples much harder to find later on. Over the years, this scarcity has added intrigue and desirability to the 1982 D issue. The 1982 D half-dollar was struck in a composition of 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel, a clad combination used since 1971 after the Mint phased out silver in circulated coins. The total mintage from the Denver Mint reached over 10 million, but most entered general circulation, meaning very few survived in pristine, mint state condition. For collectors, that makes every high-grade 1982 D coin an attractive find. But beyond the standard issues, some 1982 D. Kennedy half-dollars carry fascinating errors that dramatically increase their value. The most famous among these is the No FG error, which refers to the missing initials FG for Frank Gasparro on the reverse side of the coin, just below the eagle's right leg. On most Kennedy halves, you can clearly see these initials, but on some 1982 D coins, they are faint or completely absent due to over-polishing of the die. When a mint polishes the dies to extend their life or remove clash marks, fine details can be accidentally worn away. This error has been officially recognized by grading companies like PCGS and NGC and has become a key target for Kennedy collectors. Depending on condition, a 1982 D-No FG half-dollar can sell anywhere between $150 and $1,500, and exceptionally sharp, mint state examples have crossed $2,000 at auction. Another remarkable error found in the 1982 D-Series involves off-center strikes, where the coin's design is misaligned during minting. A slight off-center strike of 5 to 10% might only bring modest value, but dramatic examples showing 30 to 60% off-center while still retaining the visible date and mint mark are highly sought after. One such coin was discovered by a collector in Colorado and sold for $850 after being authenticated by Anax. Double die errors have also been reported for the 1982 D. Kennedy half-dollar, particularly on the obverse. In these cases, the lettering in Liberty or the date, 1982, appears slightly doubled due to misalignment between the die and the hub during production. These coins have a ghostly, shadowed effect and are prized for their visual appeal. Depending on how bold the doubling is, these can bring between $300 and $1,000 in collector markets. Another rare and intriguing type of error is the wrong planchet strike, where a coin is struck on a blank intended for another denomination. Though extremely rare for a half-dollar, examples have surfaced of 1982 D have struck on planchets meant for quarters, producing a smaller and lighter coin missing portions of the design. These anomalies are breathtaking to see in person, and one confirmed specimen sold for $3,800 at a heritage auction in 2020. Then there are broad strike errors, with a retaining collar that normally keeps the coin's metal contained during striking fails to engage. The result is a coin that looks slightly pancaked, or stretched out, lacking a proper rim. For a large coin like the Kennedy half, this error is particularly eye-catching. Collectors often pay $200 to $400 for Broadstruck 1982 D halves depending on the severity and overall condition. Die cracks and cuds also appear in this series. A cut occurs when part of the die actually breaks off, leaving a raised blob or missing section of design on the coin. Some 1982 D examples show these flaws near the lettering or along the rim. Though minor die cracks are relatively common, large cuds that distort design features can sell for $500 or more, especially if they appear near Kennedy's profile or the Eagle's wings. Some of the most mysterious 1982 D half dollars are those that display die rotation errors. Normally, when you flip a US coin vertically, both sides align perfectly. The 2016 US Harper's Ferry State Quarter is one of those coins that might seem like just another modern piece of pocket change. But to coin collectors and history lovers, it's a miniature masterpiece, one that captures one of America's most defining moments. And when it comes with rare minting errors, this coin can be worth far more than 25 cents. In fact, some 2016 Harper's Ferry error quarters have stunned collectors by selling for hundreds, even thousands of dollars at auction, proving once again that even in today's world of machine precision, the US Mint can still make mistakes. And those mistakes can make you rich. To understand the story behind this coin, we have to start with the America the Beautiful Quarters program. Beginning in 2010 and continuing until 2021, the program honored 56 national parks and historic sites across all U.S. states and territories. Each design told a story about the nation's landscape, culture, or history. The 2016 Harper's Ferry Quarter, the third release of that year, celebrated Harper's Ferry National Historical Park in West Virginia, a place where the past and present of America collide in dramatic fashion. The design on the reverse of the coin depicts the famous John Brown's Fort, the firehouse where the abolitionist John Brown and his men made their last stand during the 1859 raid on Harper's Ferry. That raid, intended to spark a slave uprising, became one of the key events leading up to the Civil War. The reverse design, created by Thomas Hipschen and engraved by Phoebe Hemphill, captures the fort's quiet strength, standing as a symbol of sacrifice and conflict. The inscriptions Harper's Ferry, West Virginia, John Brown's Fort, and 2016 surround the image, while the obverse carries the classic portrait of George Washington by John Flanagan. Used on quarters since 1932, the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints all struck these coins. The P, D, and S mint marks distinguish their origin. Billions were made for circulation. Yet amid this massive production, mistakes happened. And in the world of coin collecting, those mistakes are everything. Let's start with one of the most dramatic types, off-center strikes. These occur when the blank planchet isn't properly seated between the dies before being struck. As a result, the design appears shifted to one side, leaving part of the coin blank. Slight off-center strikes might only be worth a few dollars, but when the misalignment is severe, say 40% or more, while the date remains visible, the coin becomes rare and desirable. A 2016 Harper's Ferry quarter struck 60% off-center with full date visible once sold for nearly $350 at auction. Another error type that gets collectors excited is the double die error. This happens when the coin die receives a misaligned secondary impression during the hubbing process, causing parts of the design to appear doubled. On 2016 Harper's Ferry quarters, doubling has been reported on the lettering John Brown's Fort, In God We Trust, and even parts of Washington's profile on the obverse. These double dies are subtle but fascinating, and when visible to the naked eye, they can easily bring $100 to $300 depending on condition. Next up are the struck-through errors, some of the most visually dramatic of all. A struck-through coin is one where foreign material, such as grease, thread, or even metal shavings, got between the die and the planchet during striking. This creates strange marks, missing details, or impressions of the material itself on the finished coin. On Harper's Ferry quarters, a struck-through grease error might cause parts of the fort or inscriptions to appear faint or missing. Some collectors have found examples where nearly half the reverse looks washed out, and such coins can fetch $150 or more, depending on how dramatic the strike-through is. A rarer and even more valuable category is wrong planchet errors, where the coin is accidentally struck on a blank intended for another denomination. Because the U.S. Mint produces billions of coins in multiple denominations simultaneously, it's not impossible for a quarter die to strike a blank mint for a nickel or dime. When this happens, The result is a smaller, lighter quarter missing parts of the design. One 2016 Harper's Ferry quarter struck on a nickel planchet was authenticated and sold for over $1,200, showing just how lucrative these mishaps can be. Then there are broad strike errors which occur when the collar, the circular die that holds the planchet in place, fails to engage during striking. This allows the metal to spread outward, resulting in a coin that looks stretched and flattened, with no defined rim. A broad-struck 2016 Harper's Ferry quarter can look strange but beautiful, like a quarter that's been gently melted at the edges. Depending on severity, these coins typically bring $75 to $150. Cuds and die breaks are another favorite among collectors. As minting dies wear down, cracks can develop, eventually leading to small or large pieces of the die breaking off. When that happens, each coin struck with the damaged die shows a raised blob of metal where part of the design should be. On the 2016 Harper's Ferry quarter, die cracks and cuds often appear near the lettering on the reverse or along the rim near United States of America. A coin with a dramatic cud, especially one that covers part of the fort or lettering, can sell for $100 to $250 depending on its size and eye appeal. Even subtle minting flaws can create value. For example, misaligned die errors, where one die, usually the obverse, strikes slightly off-center while the reverse stays aligned, can give the appearance of a tilted portrait. Minor examples might only be worth a few dollars, but severe cases, where Washington's head is noticeably off-center, can fetch $50 to $100 or more. Another intriguing variety, discovered among 2016 Harper's Ferry quarters, is die deterioration doubling, a form of machine doubling that gives the coin a shelf-like doubling effect on lettering. While not a true double die, it's still collected for its appearance. And coins showing strong distortion on the reverse inscriptions can bring $20 to $40, especially in uncirculated condition. Now let's not forget the proof and uncirculated collector strikes from the San Francisco Mint. Proof coins, made with special dies and polished planchets, often carry a mirror-like finish and frosted design elements. Sometimes, however, even these high-quality coins leave the mint with small but valuable errors, such as die polishing lines, missing layers of copper plating, or small strike-through marks. A 2016 S-Proof Harper's Ferry quarter with a visible strike-through error once sold for $200. Beyond the errors themselves, there's another reason the 2016 Harper's Ferry quarter holds collector interest: its historical and emotional symbolism. The story of John Brown's fort is etched deeply into America's conscience, a tale of conviction, rebellion, and a fight against slavery. For a coin to capture that, and then to exist in flawed, one-of-a-kind forms, adds an extra layer of meaning. Each error coin becomes both a historical artifact and an accident of craftsmanship. Collectors who specialize in the America the Beautiful quarters often seek out each design's major errors. The Harper's Ferry coin sits alongside some of the most memorable in the series, like the 2015 Homestead Leaky Bucket error or the 2019 San Antonio Missions double die. Yet the Harper's Ferry examples stand out for their range of mistakes, from simple off-centers to spectacular wrong planchet strikes. The T-Major auctions and online platforms like eBay and Heritage Auctions, high-grade examples of error quarters from this series, have performed impressively. For instance, a 2016 Harper's Ferry quarter struck off-center by nearly 50% with a full date sold for $360, while a wrong planchet error, struck on a dime blank, certified by Peace GS, reached $1,275. Another collector found a broad-struck example that sold for $125, and even minor die cracks on uncirculated coins have fetched $40 to $1.80. The lesson is clear. These coins are out there, often overlooked in circulation or pocket change. The 2016 Harper's Ferry quarter isn't rare in its standard form, but error examples hide among the billions produced, waiting for sharp-eyed collectors to discover them. When you hold one of these quarters, take a closer look. Examine the edges, tilt it under the light, and look closely at the inscriptions. If you see doubling in Harper's Ferry or John Brown's fort, or a shifted design that seems off balance, you might just have something special. Even a tiny minting flaw can turn a 25-cent coin into a valuable collectible. What makes these finds even more exciting is that they're modern. Unlike 19th century coins locked away in collections, the 2016 Harper's Ferry quarter is still circulating today. That means you could stumble upon a valuable error in your everyday change. Imagine the feeling of spotting that tiny difference and realizing it's worth hundreds of dollars. all because of one lucky glance. For collectors and treasure hunters alike, this is the thrill of numismatics. Each coin tells a story. Each error adds a twist to that story. And sometimes those twists can lead to incredible discoveries. The next time you receive a quarter's change, take a second look. Check the date. See if it's 2016. Look for that little image of John Brown's fort, the silent witness to one of America's most turbulent chapters. Then look closer still. If something seems off, a shifted strike, a faint letter, a double image, don't spend it. You might be holding a small fortune disguised as spare change. The 2016 Harper's Ferry State Quarter, with its powerful imagery and unexpected minting errors, stands as a perfect reminder of why collectors keep searching. It proves that even in the modern age of advanced technology, perfection